Now, January 6th is the day Congress will certify the still contested electoral college vote. Many are saying this is the Trump team's last stand. So what can be done in Congress to challenge or invalidate the electoral vote of contested states? What's the process, and what are the real prospects for success? For that, we turn to Alabama Representative Mo Brooks, who is planning to challenge the vote certification, and Matt Whitaker, former acting attorney general. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Congressman Brooks, I want to start with you. Thomas Jefferson and John Quincy Adams were the only two presidents to be elected by a congressional vote. Why do you believe the 2020 election should be subjected to this process?
Well, because it's quite clear to me that the evidence is overwhelming. If you were to count only lawful votes cast by eligible American citizens, Joe Biden did not win the Electoral College. You've got a report from a Georgia Senate subcommittee on elections that discusses the election process in Georgia. They had affidavits, they had live witnesses, they had documents, and they concluded that Georgia's own election system was unworthy of trust in November of this year.
But Congressman,
you've got in Pennsylvania 15, well, let me finish, 15 legislators.
No.
Congressman,
if I let you finish, I'll be totally out of time.
All right, go ahead.
Look, we've heard it in Pennsylvania. I spoke to some investigators in Nevada today about the ballot harvesting they saw, about the irregularities all over the place. But essentially, you're trying to invalidate 6 states' electoral votes. What do you want to see happen? What's the process in Congress? You would have to come forward and challenge it, and then you need a senator as well, correct?
Well, yes, we need a House member and a senator to co-sponsor an objection for each state that we believe has such a badly flawed election system that it's untrustworthy and should not be supported by the American people. We have dozens of House members who are going to either sponsor or co-sponsor these objections. We're hopeful that we will have a senator. The president informed us of 2 names of senators who had indicated that they were going to co-sponsor it. But until those senators go public, I don't count them as a bird in the hand. Rather, they're 2 in the bush. So we'll see how it plays out. On the House floor on January the 6th at 1 p.m., there'll be a roll call of the states for those states to submit their electoral college votes. The Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, will ask if there are any objections after each state's name and vote is called. After the 6 states in question, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona, I intend to object with others. And then there is a process that
you need a
unfolds
senator to second it. Yeah, you need a senator to second it. Matt, it seems Congressman Brooks and his allies are moving toward a contingent election. Is there a path here, realistically, when Pelosi has the votes and therefore could control the outcome of every electoral challenge? I mean, they will debate it for a couple of hours, and then the vote goes to the floor of whether to accept the challenge or allow the votes to be certified. Isn't that the process?
That is the process, Raymond, and thanks for having me on tonight. Not only is it going to do that, but you also have this very interesting lawsuit that Louis Gohmert's filed, challenging, sort of the discretion that the vice president has as to which votes he can or which slates of electors he can or cannot accept. And so, while I think a lot of people believe that's a long shot, I think there are many people that not only think this is about this year's election and a lot of the irregularities, but it's also about future elections, because the American people need to have confidence in the outcome of these elections. And right now, the polls are pretty clear that a lot of folks do not believe that this was a fair election. And to the congressman's point, there are a lot of folks that saw what happened in 2020, saw the support for President Trump, and are really mystified as to all of these votes that seem to have come out of thin air that ultimately tipped the election towards Joe Biden.
Congressman Brooks, your reaction. I mean, what happens? Let's say you object to Arizona. That'll be the first state that comes up. You object to it. Let's assume a senator joins you. Now the 2 houses part. The Senate goes one way, House goes one way. You debate this. When it's voted in the House, doesn't Pelosi control the majority and she'll just swat away that objection?
No, she doesn't. And here's why. The United States Constitution, United States Code does not define what a majority is in the House of Representatives. Under the 12th Amendment to the Constitution, it's a majority of the state delegations. Republicans have 27, Democrats have 20, 3 or 50-50 splits. If that is the majority, based on the 12th Amendment, which in turn relates to the election of the President of the United States, if that's the legal standard, then we have the votes. On the other hand, I'm sure the Democrats will press for the interpretation being a majority of 435, in which case they have the majority. So we do have some ambiguity there, and ultimately the Supreme Court would probably have to rule whether the 12th Amendment standard applies or some other standard applies.
Matt Whitaker, your take on this. I spoke to leadership in both parties, Democrats and Republicans, today at the Capitol. They said Pelosi would have the majority here. Your take on this?
Yeah, this is, I mean, there's a little bit of a, of who controls the chamber controls the rules. And we've seen this so many times, especially in the House, with the Speaker having so much power. But that being said, if there is any way, and again, the Supreme Court has not yet, even though there is a 6-3 conservative majority, has not yet shown a desire to wade into the 2020 election. But if they do, I think what the congressman says and the interpretation of the 12th Amendment to the Constitution would be determinative. And if they could issue an order compelling the Speaker to do it by state delegations instead of the majority of the 435, then that would be a very interesting outcome.
Yeah, that's a real narrow path here, though. That I worry about that because, as I said, I spoke to leadership in both parties. They maintain that the state representation, one vote per state, only kicks in if you have a deadlock in the Electoral College vote. And that's the only way that would be triggered. Congressman Brooks, very quickly before I run out of time, Rudy Giuliani tonight in breaking news is saying the Trump administration is taking its Wisconsin electoral complaint to the Supreme Court. No court has heard these challenges. Will this be different? Or do you think they just are allergic to getting involved in this 2020 election?
Under the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 4, you've also got the 12th Amendment and Title 3 U.S. Code 15 and related statutes, it's quite clear that it is the ultimate duty of the United States Congress to resolve all election contests involving the presidency, and for that matter, under Article 1, Section 5, the House of Representatives or Senate election contests. So I would submit that the courts are unprepared to handle matters of this nature on the one hand, and on the other hand, the courts understand that it's our job, Congress's, to conduct the investigation and to render the final verdict. We are the ultimate judge, jury, and arbiter in these kinds of disputes.
Okay, well, we will see how this shakes out on January 6th. Matt, Congressman Brooks, thank you both for being here.